If your power clean is feeling clunky or slow, or maybe you're struggling with the bar crashing on you like this, then this video is going to clean that right up, literally. My name's Sonny Webster and I competed in the 2016 Olympic Games, a personal best clean of 200 kilos, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to power clean correctly and when you should be using this movement. Now, the power clean is one of the most misused and misunderstood lifts in the gym. Most people yank it off the floor or try and muscle up and turn it into a reverse curl, but when you hit it right, it feels incredible. Now, before we break down the power clean step by step, let's get clear on what the power clean is actually for. The power clean is an accessory movement to help improve speed of turnover and extension in the classical movement of the full clean. It's also used as a great and accessory exercise for people to help improve speed and power in any other sports practices like athletics, like American football, and many other sports that require that power. Now, Olympic lifters don't compete using the power clean for a reason. You see, when you do a full clean, you don't need to pull the bar as high. This allows you to be more efficient, but it requires you to be strong and stable in the catch position. This is what allows you to ultimately lift what your true potential is. You see, that way the power clean just becomes an accessory movement to help with the technical things that we need to improve on in the full clean, such as the extension and the speed of turnover, which is where this lift comes into play in any Olympic weightlifting training program. Now, most lifters get this first bit wrong, and it's the setup. It's the foundation of any great lift. And the first thing we need to think about is getting our feet in the right position. Now, remember, we're trying to work on this exercise to help produce power, work on extension and turnover. We need our feet in our most powerful position, which is exactly where we would be if we were going to jump. So that's feet directly underneath shoulder width. Second thing that's crucial for a good setup position is making sure we're gripping in the right spot. We find the correct grip by taking the thumbs into the side and running them down the outsides of our shins to find our optimal grip position. Once finding the optimal grip position, next thing we need to do is make sure our hips are at the right start position. So what we want to look for in the start position for the clean is that the knees and arms are in line. And we achieve that by lowering the hips down into the set position and pulling the shoulder blades back and down simultaneously to create tension in the back, but ultimately making sure that the arms are straight to create as much distance between us and the bar. We then finally look up at our focus point, which should be just above eye level, and now we're ready to begin the lift. Now that we're in the correct start position, we need to start the first pull. I hate the fact that this is called the first pull because in actual fact, when we're initiating this movement from the floor, we want to think about pushing the floor away with the legs. So from our nice tight start position with straight arms, all I'm thinking about doing is pushing the floor away with the legs and maintaining a consistent angle with the back. Being smooth in this first phase of the lift is what allows us to utilize the legs more effectively in the second phase of the lift and get acceleration. Getting the bar accelerating as we pass the knees is what's going to allow the bar to continue to go up as we transition into our receiving position. So that first part of the lift is actually very controlled, and we're focusing more on holding good body shape as opposed to being too aggressive, throwing the bar out of position. Keeping the bar as close to center of gravity in this first phase and letting the legs be loaded as the bar passes the knees is what is crucial. So think about this first phase as our first push. All that's working here is the legs till the bar passes the knee. Now we're moving on to the second pull or second push. Now, as the bars pass the knees, this is the point where we're keeping the bar still close to the body. So you see how it's in contact with the thigh, my knees are bent, and my shoulders are directly above the bar. Now, from this point, we're coming through into extension. Now, what I'm thinking about from this point is squeezing the bum so the bar stays tracking up the thighs, and I'm striking through with the chest. Keeping the arms as long as possible until the legs have hit full extension is crucial. Common things that I hear people talk about during this middle phase is to think about shrugging or using the upper body. If you start shrugging too early or the weight goes in the upper body before the legs extend, it makes it very difficult for you to transfer the power and the strength from the legs into the extension phase of the lift, okay? So what I'm thinking about through this middle phase is actually just letting the arms hang, and from here thinking about jumping. When I think about jumping, everything that I want to happen, i.e. extension at the ankle, the knee, and the hip, happens naturally. But by keeping the arms hanging loose, naturally what will happen is the shoulders will go through the ears during this extension phase, causing the bar just to brush the thigh, but ultimately stay close to center of gravity through the middle phase of the lift, as opposed to knocking away from the body. Getting the bar moving away from center of gravity makes it a longer route to the shoulders, but also makes it harder for us to impart force on the bar or move around said load through this transitional phase of the lift, which we're going to be coming on to next. Now, I'm certainly not the best artist in the world, as you can tell from this drawing, but during the transitional phase, we're trying to get from position 1 to position 2. Now, position 1 is referring to where we're at the top of the extension, and we see extension happening here at the ankle, the knee, and at the hip. Crucial for us to transfer that power down correctly. But we need to get the bar now from waist height, or just mid to upper thigh, into our receiving position, which is here on the shoulders. Now, the fastest route from the bar to travel from this position to this position, point A to B, or point 1 to 2, is straight. So we're trying to avoid the bar traveling around or looping, which is extremely common during the catch of the clean. This is a longer route, takes more time, and like I said, it's going to make it difficult for us to impart force on the bar. With that being said, looking at me from side on now, what we're trying to do through this middle phase is get the bar traveling straight up and turning over like so, as opposed to swinging away from the body. So the thought process for me here after I've jumped is to think about taking my elbows around the hands into the receiving position, as opposed to hands moving around elbows, causing the distance between us and the bar. So here's where we piece this all together. Now, one of the key points that I want to start discussing now is what's happening with the feet during this transitional phase, because we're leaving the ground through extension and we're coming into our receiving position. And you can see straight away, even when I'm demoing that, the feet are moving out. Now, the goal is to move the feet out into the squat position, or optimal position to receive the bar. Now, with that being said, the things that I like to think about during this middle phase is that the point where the feet move out, the elbows are coming through at the same time. And you'll notice how my legs are bent slightly in this position. So I'm loading the legs in this receiving position. Focusing on this timing coupled with the maintenance of the hook grip will allow you to be super fast in that turnover and achieve a good front rack position. Now, the reason why the feet need to move is because if the feet don't move out, it makes it challenging for you to keep the torso up in the receiving position. But equally, if the feet move too wide, which is super common when people power clean, it's not going to put you in optimal position to carry over the technique that you're using in the power clean into the full clean. Because obviously if the feet move too wide, it makes it challenging for me to sit down into my bottom squat position. So while we're talking about this, let's talk about some of the other common faults that may be coming into your power cleans, and I'll tell you how to fix them. So if the feet are shooting too wide, I'm going to show you a simple drill that you can do to help improve this. Now, what I always say first of all is you need to know, okay, where is the right position? Because you need to start teaching the body where I want to be landing. So the optimal position for you to be receiving is 1 foot outside shoulder width. Now, what you'll see that I've done is I've put down 2 little kettlebells at that outside edge of where my feet need to be. Now, with a lighter load, what you can actually do is do some power cleans with your feet wide. Now, you may feel a little bit impeded or have to duck the knees in to do this, but what you'll do is start to do some power cleans without the feet moving, just to get used to the feeling of where those feet need to be. Once you're comfortable with that, what you can then do is bring the feet back into your start position and get used to the feet moving out and landing within those kettlebells. You only need to do this with a light weight to begin with. It's all about building familiarity with where the right position is, building good muscular memory with light loads. That's what will allow you, as you start to build up in load, to maintain good technique, which is crucial. Technique starts breaking down. Don't just keep adding weight. Make sure that you stop yourself at the point where the technique breaks down, not where you feel like you're not strong enough to be able to lift the lift. Now, the early arm bend is, to be honest, its own kettle of fish. But there's some common things that will cause an early arm bend that will prevent you from transferring power from the lower body through extension, which I'm going to help you out with now. One of the most simplest ways to improve or reduce the amount of early arm bend that's happening is to, one, make sure that you're using hook grip. By using hook grip, it allows you to keep the arms relaxed, which will in turn stop you from tightening up too early during the lift when you feel like the bar's going to come out the hand. Second thing, when you're in a setup position, think about tensing the triceps and pulling the shoulder blades back and down. If the arms are straight in the start position, it makes it much easier for you to maintain straight arms throughout the lift. And then finally, what you also want to think about doing is keeping the bar close to the body. If you slow down the first phase of lift and maintain the bar contacting the body as it passes the knees, it's much easier to keep the arms hanging. If the shoulders get too far in front of the bar, you'll naturally want to bend to bring that bar into center of gravity before extension, and then struggle to get that transfer of weight into the lift. If you want to know more about early arm bend, I'm going to put the link to my video specifically on this where you can go and dive specifically into that. We're going to move on to the next point. So another common fault will be slow elbows in the receive. Now, what I'm talking about when I talk about slow elbows is our ability to turn the elbows through into our receiving position. They will move slowly, generally, if the bar is too far away from the body through the middle phase of lift, which we know we can keep the bar close by letting it slide through the middle. But secondly, if we're gripping too wide. If we're gripping too wide, it will put further strain on our front rack mobility, which in turn makes it challenging to get those elbows through nice and fast. So making sure you're in that optimal grip position will help speed up the turnover of the elbows. I also find to get that timing correct, maintaining the hook grip can be super helpful. Simple way that you can help improve this is do specific front rack mobility drills prior to your power clean session. That'll feel a lot more comfortable on the shoulders. And don't forget, we've got a specific protocol for this at the mobility manual, which I'll pop a link to below this video. You can do that inside our app. Finally, we need to talk about catch depth on the power clean. And what I always say to my guys is that you want to think of a power clean or a power snatch like a high snatch or a high clean. With that being said, we need to understand where is our deepest point where we receive. Now, when I receive a clean, my bum hole nearly touches the floor. I'm in a very deep low position here, so that's where I catch my receiving position. Now, for me, a power clean could be anything from here to here to here to here to here to here, because that is still higher than my lowest point of receive. If you're someone, and there's a lot of great lifters that do, their deepest point of their catch when they do their power clean is maybe like here, they need to be comfortable power cleaning a slightly higher position than their optimal clean position, okay? So just be mindful of that and don't beat yourself up too much if you're breaking 90 degrees, because like I said, if you have a super deep bottom position, even catching at 90 degrees is still going to be classed as a power clean, providing that the feet are in the same receiving position as they would be for your full lift. Now, I want to get onto a couple of drills that will really help you improve your power cleans, especially if you're doing this to help improve your Olympic weightlifting. The first drill that we're going to do is one that I love to teach the beginner athletes that I work with at the lifting zone, and this is clean jump power clean. So by doing the clean jump exercise, what we're focusing on here is the extension. So we're starting with the bar close and touching. When we get to mid-thigh, we're thinking about jumping and letting the shoulders run through the ears. We'll then couple that with going back to the floor, reversing the movement, and then coming in to our power clean. This gets us used to utilizing the legs rather than the upper body through the middle phase of the lift. The second exercise is going to be the clean Deadpool power clean. Now you'll notice how I'm coupling this drilling motion prior to the actual movement that we're trying to improve on. The thing that I see people struggling with the most is the setup position, which is why this is such a good exercise to drill. So with the clean Deadpool, we're focusing on getting into that good start position and being slow and controlled as the bar is passing the knee and standing up onto our toes. This gets us used to that feeling of good body position and keeping the bar close. I'll then touch the floor, come back past the knee and move into the power clean. So again, by moving slowly through that first phase of keeping the bar close and touching into extension, it allows us to build familiarity of where the bar is in relation to the body, making us more efficient in the turnover of the power clean. Every month, I take on 5 new lifters to work with me on a one-on-one basis to master the sport of Olympic weightlifting. We start off by doing a deep dive analysis over Zoom where I can break down and explain to you exactly what's holding you back from achieving your goals. This is what allows us to build out a custom training program that's constantly adapting around your progress and your life to make sure that you're investing your time and energy on specifically what you need to focus on. On a daily basis, you're getting the technical feedback and analysis that you need to be consistent with your progress and get that accountability. But not only that, on a weekly basis, I'll be upskilling and educating you on how to master the sport of weightlifting around other like-minded individuals that have huge goals in the sport. Now, it might surprise you, but this isn't just for people that are trying to hit new PBs. The lifters that I work with in middle age, around 42 years old, from the likes of Becky, who's a mother of 4, who's now going on to compete at World Masters in Olympic weightlifting, but started from the sport of CrossFit, or Kevin, who's reaching towards 70 years old now, that picked up the sport late and is now moving more efficiently and is stronger than he's ever been his whole life. All you need to do to apply to be one of those 5 people that I work with is hit the link below this video and book in your discovery call with me. I want to find out about you, what you're struggling with, and find the best solution to get you there as quickly as possible. But there's a disclaimer with this. I only want to work with people that are dedicated to want to improve, not just like the idea. You need to be ready to invest in yourself, commit to 3 training sessions a week, and give me 12 weeks of your time to guarantee a result. So if that sounds like you, hit the link below this video and book that call in.